everyone. I think I am live. As far as I know, I am live. Let me just check that I am. There we go. So, hello, and welcome to, I think this is the first time I've been streaming on a Saturday. Decided I was going to, hello, Zanaya. Or I hope I said it. Did I say that wrong? I think it's Zanina. Hope I said that right. Hello. Let me just make the chat bigger so I can read it. What we're going to do today is, if I can get my notes up, I usually pre-record a weekly recap that I've been posting on my secondary channel. But I thought maybe I'll do it live, and then afterwards we'll do some brainstorming sketches. So yeah, talking a bit about the art and illustration and all that kind of stuff that I've been doing this week. And my iPad with my notes keeps wanting to go to sleep. Anyways, one of the things I did was I got around to painting a bistro set. This is one that I've had for a while. It's just a cheap-ass one from Walmart. It was a plain white. And it was also kind of grimy, so I scrubbed it down and I got out some spray paint that I've had kicking around in my shed for years now. I figured I'd do it into some crazy Sex Pistols, Never Mind the Bollocks colors. Some hot pink and some lime green. And there you have it. I think the video is going to loop, but you get the idea. It's kind of a messy job, but the idea is so that when, in January, when my yard is just kind of looking like mud and grass and dead things, at least I'll look and I'll see it at the back of the yard and I'll have some color to look at. I was really thinking about that a lot this January. Every time I looked at it, it's like, oh, why is it white? And there it is, it loops. So I'm just going to bring myself back in. So that was one of the main things, albeit not exactly a painting related thing. And then I've also started scanning some stuff because I've been working on graphic novels and whatnot. I've talked about that before, and then I found I had issues with the scanner, but we will talk about that later. So anyways, I've also been doing a bunch of pruning in the garden, so I kind of thought, you know what, let's kind of make the theme tonight pruning in the garden and in life. When we get to the doodle kind of live brainstorm sketching, whatever, it's going to be for a garden related project that will be out hopefully next spring. Anyway, so let's get right to finishes. I'll bring up my other camera. Well, the first thing, of course, from my Monday stream was Miles Marv's Pursuit of Happiness. So we wrapped that project up, at least this current phase. What it is I've been doing drawings associated, kind of picking random themes each week based on a letter of the alphabet. So we got to Z, so we've got the zoo and zebras. That's what Miles is doing here. And now I'm going to take all of those drawings, kind of see which ones fit together, write some short stories, and then once I have the short stories, I'll know what other illustrations I might want to do. So we'll come back and do some more drawings at a later date. But starting this Monday, we'll be working in the meantime on a different project involving Miles and Ricky. So anyways, we've got Miles gazing into the zebra enclosure at this zoo. We've got the fancy background and all that, just basically to make it look cool. And he's seen the zebra's butts here. And then I haven't decided yet with this drawing of him riding a zebra, does he actually, you know, does he actually ride one out in the savannah or at the zoo? Or is he just like daydreaming about how cool it would be to ride a zebra? We'll determine that when I write the story. So that was the Monday stream. And then on the Tuesday stream, where's my next little camera setup? I always have to remember, there we go. It takes a couple taps to get it in. So on Tuesday, I've been working on the Noah's Archipelago, Noah's Book of Days project. It was going to be a 2027 Noah calendar, and I thought, why don't I just use these drawings for something a little longer lasting than just a calendar? And because Noah's into, I mean, obviously here this is Christmas, right? But Noah's into all the little fake holidays, stuff like National Peach Cobbler Day, Wear Something Gaudy Day. You know, that's kind of been a running gag with the comic. So I thought, well, why don't I turn that into a book? You know, kind of going through different weird holidays each month. And then these, what was going to be pages from the calendar, will be kind of like section headers or chapter header illustrations. But anyway, so we wrapped up phase 1 of that as well. So this coming week we'll be starting a different, well, we'll be starting this week is just finishing up doing cast portraits for the first Noah's Archipelago treasury book of the web comics. They'll be wrapping up, but we wrapped up this phase with the December. So Noah's dressed as Santa and his wife Ruth as Mrs. Claus, and he's got mistletoe and all that. So he's probably been chasing her around the house all day, which is why she's starting to look a little pissed off at it. What we will be doing once, what we'll be starting next week, or once I finish the cast portraits, then I have a short story that's kind of a spoof of a magazine piece about Noah. And so I'll illustrate that. And then later on, I want to get into some graphic novels. And, you know, it kind of, I was actually today, I didn't take photos of it or a video clip to post on here, but I do have sorted stuff on the docket for projects and scheduling and all that. So anyways, so we wrapped up 2 projects between Miles and Noah for the phase 1 anyways this week. But what we started then on Wednesday, let me just put these out of the way, is we started some Noah's, or we finished some Noah. We started a new Zomo mini project, which is, let me get my document camera down there. We started The World According to Zomo. This was actually a, starting in 2014, off and on for several years, I was doing a podcast version of Zomo the Destroyer. Because at that point, oh, hey, Pavel, happy Saturday to you as well. Nice to see you around. Hope you're doing well. Just doing my kind of, I used to do a pre-recorded weekly recap of what I've been drawing. I thought, well, why don't I do it as a live stream? And then at the end, I'm going to do some brainstorming doodles. So that's what we're at. And this is Zomo the Destroyer, based on an iguana I used to have. And hello, Cedric. How's it going? So Zomo was based on a pet iguana I had, and then I turned that into first a webcomic and later into a podcast. Basically, I got too lazy to do the webcomic or too busy. But I was doing a lot of audio stuff. I was like, I can bang out a podcast. So I was doing a podcast for a while. So now I have all these short stories that I'm now going to illustrate and turn into books. But one of them was this hour-long piece called The World According to Zomo, which is because I was a DJ at CITR Radio at UBC when I was at university. Well, actually, by this point, I was out of university, but it's also campus and community. Okay, Cedric, I thought, okay, I must have had a different Cedric who was in my chat a few weeks ago. I thought I recognized your name, but anyways, welcome in any case. So now there's 2 Cedrics, I guess. Anyways, getting back to Zomo, CITR every year on January 17th. Oh, okay, right. Okay. Yeah, okay, now that's why I recognize your name, Cedric. I remember you and your cousin, Zena. You guys were here a while back now. I think that was when I was doing the vending machine drawing with Miles, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that was about the right time. So, So with the CITR, every year they do 24 hours of radio art on January 17th. And in 2015, my slot was that I did a podcast of Zamo giving a lecture of all the things Zamo figured, you know, being an iguana, that Zamo thought that university wasn't teaching us humans. So now we're going to illustrate that. It's going to become like a little free PDF that I'll put up on my website. So we have Zamo standing on the board, the CITR radio board, and yelling into the microphone. So that was the first illustration. This will be, well, not counting the cover, but this will be the first illustration of the book. The one on top was one that I will do next week. I kind of forgot that if I ink this part and then turn it to ink this with wet ink is just going to get smeared because I'm messy. So we'll do that one next week. And then we had Zamo talking about how, you know, Zamo figures that humans are basically chimps because we share 98% of our DNA with chimpanzees, and Zamo figures that rounds up to 100. But Zamo likes to insist that Zamo and all iguanas shared 98% of their DNA with T-Rex. Any paleontologist who tells you otherwise is a liar. You know, they're humans. They have vested interests, don't want iguanas to take over their rightful place. So yada, yada, yada. It's a whole thing. So anyways, I have this little sketch of Zamo kind of flexing and looking in the mirror and seeing this giant T-Rex roaring back. And then the last drawing that I got done on Wednesday for Zamo, whoops, document camera is going to be a little unstable, I guess. Let me just, I've got a whole stack of like sketchbooks and pencil crayon boxes at the side to try and keep it at the right height. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And let me autofocus. And then there's a reference that Zamo made about higher learning, but you know, it would seem that BC students are getting the wrong kind of higher. So I drew myself and my high school friends when we used to go out and smoke in the baseball, like the baseball dugouts behind the school. So my friend, my friend Adrian, my friend Andre, I forget this dude's name. I think his name was actually also Adrian, but you know, the dude version of Adrian. And I see Cedric and Zena are asking about drawing names, and sure, let me just find a blank page in the sketchbook. And here we go. And let me just get it so I can actually see. Let's see if I can pull some like decent half calligraphy out of my butt. So, Cedric. Zenas, smoking. No, I used to. In high school I did. I do not recommend it. And, but in the 90s, that was just kind of what you did in high school. Let me actually bring that up. So, 'cause I think that was kind of half out. That was kind of what we did in high school. It was stupid, but that's kind of what we did. And I think by the time I was through my first year of university, I basically 90% of the way quit. Last time I had a cigarette was actually for a, so there you go, Cedric, and now I'll write Zena's name. And then, where is it going? So yeah, I think it was 2011 or 2012, I had a video project where I kind of needed a shot of, oh, okay, Cedric. Okay, I will add the K. Thanks for pointing that out. I had a video project where I needed a close-up of a cigarette being smoked, so I smoked it when I was filming it and spent the next 12 hours coughing. It was not pleasant. And I think before that I had one in like 2001, and then before that would have been like in 98. So I do not smoke anymore, but I used to. And it's, like I said, it's not worth doing. Now, Zanina, is it Zed? Just trying to drag my chat back so I can see the full spelling. Okay, it's not going to let me do it. So I'm going to go based on how your screen name is. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it was just what the thing that was done back in those days. And I mean, I think even the generation before us, it was even more of a, I'm hoping I can spell right. I hope I'm like reading that right. So there you go. There are your names. And so, but yeah, that was very common. I mean, when you go back to like, say, the 1950s, everybody smoked. I mean, like housewives smoked, and they smoked like chimneys back in the day. So, you know, every so often you kind of get weirdly nostalgic for it, which is not good, but I think it's more nostalgic for the times, not so much, you know, for the actual cigarettes. So I'm just going to flip back, going back to, please delete that. Please delete what? This is a live stream, so it's, yes, in May. Anyways, so I know there's a bit of a delay between what I'm saying and what you guys in the chat are seeing, because that's just kind of the nature of YouTube and whatnot. I think it's about a 20-second delay. But anyways, so moving on with the art that I did this week. On Thursday on my stream, it was the Noah's Archipelago coloring book that I'm working on, where we're going through the A to Z of Noah's job history. It's actually going to be the first of a couple different Noah's job history books, but so we had E is for movie extra, so there's Noah in the background doing what you should never do if you're a movie extra. You're not supposed to like smile and wave at the camera. You're supposed to just pretend like nothing's going on, right? That you're just doing your thing. And then we've got the movie stars up here, the director shaking his fist and yelling, and the production assistant with the snapper thingy. So there's that. And then the other job, when I was looking up stuff to draw for this book, I was looking up like weird jobs, you know, looking for some ideas and whatnot. I saw this thing and it said lollipop dude. I'm like, huh. And I'm thinking working in a candy shop or something. Let me try and get this a little square. And I found out that no, that's actually British slang for what we here in Canada would call a flag person. You know, that's so like when there's construction on the side of the road, the person who holds like the stop or go slow sign and whatnot. And then I guess they call the paddle thing in England, they refer to it as a lollipop. So the guy who does that or the girl who does it is a lollipop guy or girl. So, but still, I thought that would be a fun one to draw. So we've got Noah at some point in his history. He's kind of working on his tan, because I've definitely seen flag people kind of wearing like short shorts and, you know, a tank top or even like a sports bra underneath now they still got to wear the high visibility vest. So that must make for some strange tan lines or whatnot. But we've got Noah just wearing the vest, and then he's got his lunch down here, he's got his paddle, and then it's kind of in a field. Cedric saying, please don't delete that, mate. No, I leave it as it is. So if you go to that live stream and dig through it, there is different points. Just like, I forget what day it was this week, but somebody popped in, and it might have been on Tuesday, when I was doing the marker stuff. Somebody popped in and asked, like, oh, can you draw a fish? So I grabbed that same sketchbook and I did a little drawing of a betta fish. So that stuff I leave in. The only time I really edit things out of live streams is there have been some where instead of starting right away, I was starting the stream, but it was like 10 minutes beforehand, and I have like a little countdown timer, like the stream is starting. I can actually show it in a split second here. Where is it? So I kind of have this little countdown thingy. I'm not gonna leave it on that long, but it goes for 5 minutes. So sometimes if I start the stream with that, because I need a couple more minutes to get something ready, then after the stream is done processing, I'll go through and I'll cut that out because it's not really part of the stream, you know, it's just that. So that's the only time I edit my streams. Otherwise, it's like whatever I do live, you know, it goes, it stays. It's just the easiest way to do it. So anyways, that is that. I mean, obviously, if I had something where like YouTube was like, you have to delete this, then, you know, well, I'd probably just delete the whole stream because it's a pain in the butt to edit them. Anyways, let's carry on. And so that was the Noah stuff. And now, where is my Ricky? So on Friday, speaking of streams, kind of things going wrong on stream, I kind of had, I wouldn't go so far as to say food poisoning, but something I ate really disagreed with me. And I had felt fine at the start of the stream, and then 20 minutes in, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm like inking this. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it right. So anyways, 25 minutes into the Friday night stream last night, I had to just be like, I'm so sorry, I have to cancel the stream. I'm sorry, bye. Ended the stream and like ran to the bathroom. It's funny now. It wasn't, I was mortified at the time. But anyways, so last night's stream, we only got, actually technically in last night's stream, we only got like that much done. And then after the sickness had passed, I sat down and I'm like, I'm not starting up the stream again. I just finished the page. So we got Ricky, this storage loft. He's passed out. He's daydreaming about winning a Grammy. And then the next is, you know, his boss being a scumbag in there, actually. We don't really see it, but we kind of know what's going on. So that was the Friday stream. We will continue on with the story of Ricky's having to clean out the storage loft at work. Why? And here I'm trying to bring up my notes. So, so that was stuff from the streams. Yes, Cedric, I remember you guys were talking about being in the Philippines and your language and stuff. So, and so he just deleted. And I went to school in Vancouver, BC. So I heard, I definitely heard friends of mine who were Asian saying that. So yeah, I do. Although I thought I think in Cantonese it means something slightly different. But anyways, so before I get into the doodling, I just want to show a couple things. One, I kind of sometimes talk. Actually, I don't need my Ricky thing now. I'm just going to go to, nope, that's not the right one. There we go. I'll bring this down a little bit so it's not in my face. But anyways, sometimes I talk about the comics I've been reading and whatnot. So I think in last week's recap video, I talked about that I was reading this one, Brian Michael Bendis's Fortune and Glory. So he's a comic book dude. Like he works for like Marvel and DC and whatnot. He's written a bunch of Spider-Man stuff. But this book is it's a graphic memoir about when his own personal independent comic got the interest of some people in Hollywood. So it's talking about going through the useless meetings and you know, getting a story, what they call options. So basically it's like the studio reserves it. And then to everybody giving the same lines, well, we love your book. Can you send it over so we can read it? You know, and all that sort of stuff. It's a very funny book. So anyways, Fortune and Glory, this is actually the first one or it's not really a series, but it's the first of this one. And then he's got one that I have on order called Fortune and Glory, the musical, because this dude then eventually ended up, I think because he had written some of the Spider-Man books when there was a Spider-Man musical on Broadway in development, which Bono and I think Pavel, I'm not sure if he's still watching or if he had to duck out, but I know Pavel's a big U2 fan. But Bono and Edge did this, wrote the songs for this Spider-Man musical, and it kind of ended up being bit of a gong show. There were a lot of issues with it and it lost a lot of money. But anyways, I think Brian Michael Bendis was involved in the early stages of development, although I don't think he's the one who actually wrote the actual storyline for the musical, which probably makes sense because I one time tried to read the Wikipedia plot synopsis. I'm like, this is enough for like 15 musicals. Why were they trying to cram it all into one? Anyways, so Fortune and Glory, highly recommend if you're interested at all in the film industry or in the comic book industry or whatnot, or you just want like a funny story about media idiots. This book is hilarious. So finished reading that, highly recommend it. And I'm not usually one who does a lot of the whole like haul, like what I've been buying or whatnot, but I did have a couple things that are kind of relevant. Number one, I think I talked on a couple recap videos ago on my other channel about having read the first book by We're Going to the USA. Oh, nice. So that'll be a fun trip for sure. Anyways, I Hate Fairyland. It's a great book. I got just like the thin, like you can see, this one is a compendium. This is like the whole first run. I think it's like the first 20 books or something of, or first 20 stories of I Hate Fairyland. The book I read was like the first 5. And I absolutely loved the I Hate Fairyland. So I ordered the compendium. So yeah, this book is amazing. It's very funny, kind of dark in places, a little bit gory every so often, but it's really funny. It's the story of like, I think the main character, Gertrude, when it starts, is supposed to be like 6 years old, and she wishes to go to a magical land, and then she finds herself in fairyland and realizes she wants to immediately go home, but the rest of it is she's like been trapped in fairyland for like 27 years trying to find her way back and hasn't managed yet. So this continues on with the story. So I will be reading this. That's probably going to take me a while to get through. And then the other thing, not fun, but essential. So I am working on, it's a scanner. So I am working on a couple graphic novels and also like a comic treasury book. And one of them is going to be an omnibus of my original, like the original Zombie the Destroyer comics. I started that webcomic in 2006 and ran it till 2009. It's all on paper. So I started on Monday. It's like, okay, well, I want to get this stupid book out by the end of the year because it's the 20th anniversary. Fine. Set it up on a scanner. Now, I've got one of those all-in-one printer scanner deals. So I'm doing that. But first of all, I was having a nightmare with getting things lined up because, you know, I'm going to go back to the document camera in a second so I can illustrate it. So, where's my document camera only? There we go. So if you look at this and any of the drawings I've done in the last you know, last 5 years or so, I started doing where I have no margin on the left or top side, so I can ram that right in the corner of the scanner, and then I've got my margin all on this, right? Well, on the early Zombie the Destroyer days, I wasn't doing that, so I had a margin all over, so I'm trying to find this line to line up, which is a pain in the ass. You know, major pain. So everything's like scanning crooked or whatnot, but fine, I kind of eventually figured that out. Here's where the other problem then comes into play. Where is my other sketchbook here? Which is, I would get, so if, I'm just looking for a pen, my kingdom for a pen. So let's just say that the original line on the Zomo is like that. What was coming through on the, and I'll get right down so we actually have that kind of in focus. So if that was the original line, wait, what's getting scanned is more like that. So a whole bunch of detail was just gone, you know? And I tried everything all week to fix the settings, and finally I just had to recognize that there's something screwy with the all-in-one scanner. They're not designed for scanning line art. So anyways, I had to suck it up and go buy a proper scanner. Granted, that one wasn't very expensive. It's supposed to be decent for line work. I mean, like the pro-level line work ones are crazy overpriced. But anyways, now I have to rescan what I already scanned this week on the new scanner. Excuse me. Excuse me again. But at least that is supposed to have better quality line work. Fingers crossed. I hope I'm not here next week screaming about the new scanner was terrible. But anyways, so that's going to be my life for the next couple of weeks. Actually, it's going to be my life going forward, is always having things to scan and, you know, trying to get from behind the 8-ball, get everything I've drawn for books scanned so that I'm then only every week just scanning what I've done that week. So that was the other bit of haul, which is nowhere near as fun as the I Hate Fairyland compendium book. So let's get into, and I guess that kind of gets into, sometimes I talk about, I guess what I kind of call it is biggest challenges of the week. The scanning issue is one. And the other is just trying to get to, I'm just going to go to switch back to this. So scanning was one. The other is just patience. The other challenge I've got right now on the books is, and I've talked about this in previous recaps, but I'll try and give the short version. So if you live in the States, you get your ISBN, like every book needs to have an ISBN to be sold on like Amazon or anything like that. So that's one thing. In the States, you would pay whatever it works out to for an ISBN. And if you just get one, it's like $125 US. If you're getting, you can buy blocks of 10 for where it works out to like $30 US. Anyways, but in Canada, you can get them for free, but you have to have an account with Library and Archives Canada. So you apply for that, which is also free. But when I applied in the beginning of May, it said 30 business days. It's now been over 30 business days, and I checked on Friday and go like, okay, why don't I have it back? Why don't I have my stuff yet? Apparently now it's like people are waiting like 3 months. The backlog's really bad, so I have no idea when I'm going to be able to get ISBNs. Anyway, so that's another challenge, but my thing is just going to be I got to just get stuff ready to go so that when I can get my ISBNs, boom, it goes in, can export the PDF, upload to Amazon, and begin the Amazon dance where you upload, you get them to send you a artist proof copy of what it's going to print like, and that takes 3 weeks to get to you. And then you find where mistakes have been made, you correct them, you upload it again, and anyways, so there's that process that can cause months of delay. So that was the other thing. Anyways, let's move on to more fun stuff. And this is a Ricky B, the rock and roll rat thing. So let's go here and there. So I've been planning out, especially knowing now what kind of delays I'm looking at. I've been planning out some books for 2027. And this is going to be kind of weird looking until I get that sorted out like that. Anyways, I think I've shown this cover before as a Doodle Zone thing on a previous recap video. But the working title is The Menacing Garden. And the premise of it is that our rat friend Ricky B, the rock and roll rat, finds himself, he wakes up in this beautiful garden, and all the plants can talk. So he goes and he tries to have conversations with them. But yeah, they're not very friendly. So, in fact, they're talking about wanting to devour his corpse, which is kind of what plants do, actually. You bury a person in the ground and the body breaks down. It becomes fertilizer. So I've got a couple doodles that I've done and shown before where Ricky's talking to this rose. Hello, Ms. Rosie. What a pretty color you got. And she says, why, thank you. I call it rat blood red. And he's like, what? So he misses the point, but I thought it would be fun. That's based on a clematis. And because we got the camera, and I'd like to go with kind of bolder lines so it shows up a little better, we're going to go straight to markers. Actually, this isn't like this week's haul, but I have some of these like Sharpie creative markers that are supposed to not really bleed through the paper. Supposed to be kind of like a paint marker, but not really. So why don't we test some of these out? And we're just going to doodle some stuff. I do want to kind of see how much do they bleed through. Oh, they actually don't. Cool. So let's do some sketching, shall we? And I don't know how late I'm going to go. Actually, this is funny. It's only like 7:37. Usually when I do recap videos and I'm not live streaming, I'm just pre-recording. And it's like, I've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes. Anyways, so let's have some doodles here. I was kind of thinking earlier, especially with the menacing garden thing, some toxic plants. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with digitalis, like commonly called foxglove, but a lot of heart medications are actually based on digitalis, but it can actually kill you. Like, it can stop the heart, like one of the things it's used for. I mean, actually, I take a beta blocker for heart arrhythmia, and I would assume that it is got some digitalis extract in it. So anyways, I'm gonna and they have these kind of trumpet like tube-like flowers that from the side kind of look like that. I'm just using like a very light grayish purple for now. And we're gonna fill in some other details afterwards. Digitalis can get quite tall. Now, Ricky is supposed to be 5'11", so he would be taller than a digitalis, but it's funnier if the digitalis is taller than Ricky. So, let's give Ricky kind of these are going to be super loose, kind of. We're kind of more getting the basic idea when I actually do the coloring book pages. And this one I don't think is going to be on stream. In fact, I'm going to be trying to get like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 or 6 coloring book pages or coloring books done next year. And I'm just not going to realistically not going to have time to do that all on stream. So kind of we'll be phasing out doing coloring books on stream, other than I guess these Saturdays we'll kind of goof around on them. So I just realized I actually don't have a black marker for this, but I've got other black markers. So foxgloves kind of have these speckles on them as well. Let's see what. Of course, if I do this as a coloring book, I obviously won't be doing any colored anything in here, because that'll be up to whoever buys them. Although I could totally see if I do, when I have coloring books that I've made, I may do a live stream here and there kind of coloring them, or coloring a page or two. Kind of enjoy liking the idea of the leaf is like curled under to make it look like, arms akimbo, I think is what the pose is kind of called. If you're wondering what the white hump is, it's a light. I'm going to try and keep it a little closer down to the book. And I got a couple of these, couple packs of these Sharpie Creative markers because I wanted to test them out before, getting a whole bunch. They're not exactly cheap, so. Although if you buy them at Walmart, they're a lot cheaper than other places. And yeah, they definitely don't bleed through, so that's pretty cool. Could definitely use kind of like a hot pink sort of thing, but when I first started live streaming, all the Tuesday streams for the first few months were basically brainstorming sketches, working really loose and whatnot along these lines. And actually, one of the projects that's on my roster for, I probably won't get around to starting work on it until like January, but on the Tuesday streams will be a graphic novel. I'm not sure the exact title, but it'll be Ricky here along with Noah's daughter Ursula, and they will be going off in search of cheesy rats, which is kind of the cartoon world's version of Chuck E. Cheese. So I'll just make that the full page, or the full view. So there we've got this foxglove kind of leaning over Ricky, telling him, I can stop your heart, I can. And Ricky being a little like, ah! What else do we have? Oh yeah, Daisy, the one being really cheerful because, you know, the saying, pushing up daisies. So Daisy is very much looking forward to when Ricky kicks the bucket. Let's see here. I don't normally draw in sketchbooks with Sharpies, regular Sharpies, because they absolutely, actually that one's not bleeding through too bad. What the hell, we'll give it a shot. I think I said at the beginning that what I had in mind for a theme for tonight's show would be pruning in the garden and in life, which isn't, you know, you could take that all sorts of ways. The way I was kind of thinking is a little bit inspired by, my garden's a little overgrown, which also is what kind of inspired this story with Ricky. So I'm trying to get it into shape. I've got this, what I've learned is plant tags lie. So don't trust them at all. I'll switch back. Like there's this one rose that I have it's a climbing rose, but it's supposed to be a small climber, which is to say it's supposed to be about 5, maybe 6 feet tall at most. It's every single tendril of this thing is, you know, like my dad and I cut off ones that were like 10 feet long. So it's like completely huge. And then somewhere the same one popped up about 4 feet down the side of my fence. So it's like, it obviously shot up from the roots, you know, along that way. So now we've got 2 of them. And it was this crazy thicket where you'd have one thing. I'm going to do this with a bigger marker so you can see. So that is one issue. Let's use a random brown one. But where we had, if one cane's coming this way, right? But then it's sending these off the side, but then they're sending back this way. So you have this, like, it was this massive tangle. It took, my thing is in the mornings, I go for a walk and then I work a little bit in the garden for about 20 minutes or so, and just kind of that. It took 3 mornings just to get to the point where you could see the main stems. So it's like an hour of cutting just to get to that point. It was pretty crazy. So now we have it like cut way back, so it's only like a foot or so off the ground, but there's also like, I don't know, 20, maybe 30 canes coming out of the ground. So that needs to be addressed, right? And it's gonna, like by September, it would just be exactly back in the same boat. My dad's gonna be building a heavy duty trellis. So we don't want it putting weight on, you know, on the actual fence. Anyways, and also I didn't really prune it this year, but I gave it a hard prune last year too. So that was just like, if you didn't prune it at all, it would be like 30 feet, you know, 15 feet in each direction type of thing. Anyways, that's kind of some of the inspiration here, is like trying to get my garden in order. So we have these 2 bitchy daisies. What are they going to be saying? Let's see here. Dead rats make us grow. And I'm just kind of, I have the rough beats of the story. I have not actually like typed up the story to know exactly, because for coloring pages, what I like to do is the left page is going to have the outline of the drawing, and then the left page is going to have the story, the right page will have that, so that you don't have like, if you're using certain markers where they bleed through, you're not like coloring back to back where it would wreck one. So anyways, there will be like a little story that weaves through the book on the left pages. I have the main beats of it, but I haven't actually written it into a clean script. So what else are we drawing? Hair alliums. Hair alliums are kind of fun. They look like something out of Dr. Seuss. So they kind of have a little bit, let me pull up. I mean, I know I have pictures of my hair alliums. I mean, I have them in the garden right now, but I've got other stuff kind of blocking my view. But they look like Dr. Seuss kind of plants, because they got like the main flower head here, you know, and along, like this part would maybe be like the size of the tip of my thumb. And the stem would be like 2 or even 3 feet tall. But then what they have are these like tentacle type of things coming off in all different directions, although they do tend to flop down, so they tend to look a little bit more like that. And that's actually, I don't think that's showing up very well. Let me do that in a darker green. Like the lime kind of whitish, pale lime, yellowy green is the color they actually are, but in the interest of having it show up properly on camera, let's do it like that. So they kind of look a little bit like fireworks maybe, or like I always think of them as like tentacles or whatnot. I haven't decided how the hair allium is going to be menacing to Ricky. And then the center is kind of purple. And I think the tendrils even kind of have a little bit of purple going that way. All right. So they kind of look like something out of a Dr. Seuss book. I'll do a couple other drawings. I'm just going back towards my list. We got cherry tree, we got lavender, we got lily. There's snapdragons. Snapdragons are kind of, basically I'm pulling up in another window, I'm pulling up some stuff from my photos. Or did I think I may have transferred all my garden pics to a different hard drive, but well, maybe not. One that's kind of interesting is columbines. So you kind of have, I'm just going to drag this over here. So you kind of have this 5-petal flower that it's a little bit kind of heart-shaped, but then there's kind of almost like they're a little bit double, but I think these are the ones that kind of go and they have a point back here. So, of course, what I've drawn that you wouldn't see this part, right? So this part goes into the tube, it comes back here. And then, you know, you got your stamens and pistil, all that kind of, all that jazz go in there. I'm not sure exactly what I would have the columbine threatening Ricky with. I mean, there's an obvious joke to be made about columbine that has nothing to do with the flower. So maybe it'll be that. That would be in kind of poor taste, but I mean, frankly, I guess most of what I do is in poor taste, I suppose. But then, anyways, they have these little background flowers, and then these pointy bits that come off of these flowers way back there. And the color would be somewhat like, at least on these ones, these are, I want to say blue star. They're blue something columbine. The nice thing is when these go to seeds, the pods, they have these little tiny kind of hard seeds, but they're very, you kind of, when the seed pods dry out, they end up looking like this, and you can kind of tell that the tubes are open at the top. They get brown and whatnot. So you come around and you just like smack them, and it'll scatter the seed for like 5 or 6 feet. And then, you know, this is assuming, of course, that you want more columbine in your garden, as some of us do. The joke, of course, is that columbine will seed itself wherever it damn well pleases, and often wherever you really want it to show up, it just ignores those areas, no matter how many times you smack it and try and knock it into there. I've already misplaced. Here it is. They're interesting to draw, so I may put some columbine in the book, but I don't know yet. And then, of course, this stuff's all kind of yellow and I'm going to figure out some way that irises are going to be also threatening to Ricky. So I'm working off of a drawing of, or a photo I took of an iris in my garden. So it's got, petals have these little hairs on them. Or I guess what it is actually is those are the bits that have the pollen, so that the bug, or like a bee or whatnot, walks up into the middle and is guaranteed to get brushed by these. And then irises will have multiple buds on the same shoot. So this one is kind of, that's the next one to open, and then it goes down, and then these two will open. And then it'll go down, and then you can't really tell in the view if this is on the same stem or if it's from another one. particular iris that this is, I don't know the exact name, but they have variegated leaves and purple flowers, and they smell like grapes. So that would definitely draw Ricky in to get a sniff. Bit of an odd angle to draw Ricky's face at, but Ricky's kind of got blue-black hair, so I tend to use blue as the kind of go-to. Yeah, so daisies, now that we're kind of close there, again, let's we draw. I think we'll kind of call it there. Let me just check over here. So, so let me bring it back there. So we got a few quick little sketches in for the Menacing Garden. Now this is one that, again, my hope is to have it out for May 1st, which is to say I've been working on this, you know, for a while now. But we got a little bit doodled and planned out, and we got through a recap and had some folks in the chat, which is great and all that. So let me just kind of throw this out there. So we got Ricky on the left there and his buddy Miles on the right. So yes, if you enjoy the videos, please do subscribe. That would be awesome. And in terms of, let me actually bring back the document camera. So in terms of streams and whatnot, this is going to be accurate for the next week, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. I think the week after that, I'm going to start all my streams at 7 p.m. Gives me a little more time to have dinner and whatnot if I have to be out running around in the afternoon and whatnot, and some other things that will just make it a little easier if I am going live from 7 to 9 instead of from 6:30 to 8:30. So, but we'll start that, I think, was it July 6th, I believe. But it'll still be the same. Monday, Ricky and Miles stuff. Tuesday, Noah's Archipelago stuff. Wednesday, Zombie the Destroyer. Thursday, Noah's Archipelago. And Friday, Ricky and Miles, which basically currently is Ricky B Goes to Sea. So this coming week, Monday, we're going to start Ricky. I actually don't know what the story is going to be called, but it's Thanksgiving in Ratsville. So it's narrated by Ricky. Miles does appear in it. So we are going to start with some drawings for that, and it'll be dip pen and India ink. Tuesday we will be carrying on with cast portraits for Noah's Archipelago, and I think that's going to be probably 3 weeks worth of streams to finish those up. Wednesday we will be carrying on with The World According to Zamo. Thursday we will be carrying on with the coloring book, The A to Z of Noah's job history. And Friday, we will be carrying on with Ricky B Goes to Sea, the graphic novel. So that's what's coming up on this next week. And that brings us to, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed our little, my little recap of what I've been drawing this week and kind of playing around drawing in the garden and whatnot. So a little sneak peek of a book that'll be getting out for sometime in 2027. Probably, I don't know that I'll be doing too much drawing on stream. I mean, I may, on some of the Saturdays, I may work on not so much brainstorming, but finishing inking. But I kind of want to keep the Saturday streams more for goofing off. So that would definitely be more about brainstorming and whatnot. So what I'm going to leave y'all with, well, this video, I'm going to save it as private so that YouTube can process and all that. And then sometime tomorrow, when the processing is done, I will make it public again. And what I'm going to leave with the show outro, where they put in the little recommended, watch this next kind of idea. It'll be a playlist for live drawing with Pura. So you can click on that and check out various live streams I've been doing, drawing and whatnot. So hope to see you again real soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.